So let's get started. Hey guys, seeing a couple of faces, and glad you back to our meetups, and I'm also seeing some new faces, of course. Hey guys, so let's get started. Today we're going to talk about design patterns in test automation, and mostly around system level test automation, if you know what I mean. I'm going to touch a little bit the lower levels like API and unit testing very briefly, but mostly test automation, as we know. So today we're going to talk about agenda. Well, yes, Stack Overflow, right? So do you guys know? Have you seen this? Just want to like get a level of of the audience, right? Okay. So I'm gonna start about my meeting with you, tell about myself, and then different design patterns. What are design patterns, first of all, and different layers of design patterns, and test timing in the end. So this is me. I'm currently working as a principal software developer and test for Cornerstone On Demand. And I also worked for companies like Toyota, Walt Disney, Hearst Corporation, and well, right now this is my project, Census Bureau. And I'm here as a test pro, which is a bootcamp around QA. So, of course, disclaimer, feel free to read it. Okay, so what are design patterns? Basically, these design patterns are just a streamline of communication between developers, the first thing, and the second one is really a solution, existing solution for common problems. So instead of basically doing something like this, right, re-implementing the wheel, these are something that you can use right off the bat. So let's talk about one layer patterns first of all. So I'm getting hungry. It's a cake, right? So who tried to use a record and play like Selenium? Okay. Any other tools? No, never heard about those things.
QTP.
Okay.
Rational Robot.
Okay. Okay. Probably you have a lot of experience with all of those, so, but no one else, right? Okay. So basically, what you can do really. Just click record button and interact with the browser, and that thing will actually record whatever you've done, and you can generate the code itself. In this case, it's Java code, which is really free code. You can see like URLs, like some locators. You can run it. It's legit. However, no assertions, no code reuse, hard to read, only one browser for initial for Firefox, right? Some sync issues because there's no wait. So if you click something, you need to wait while because like logging sometimes takes time.
So new Selenium, you can do Chrome too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's why I said initially, but still not enough, right? On the other hand, I mean, it's quick and dirty. You can start doing this thing like within the minutes, really, and no coding required at all in the beginning. And I mean, it looks cool. Your grandma will be happy, right? Yeah.
So for the uninitiated, what is Selenium? Exactly?
What?
What is Selenium exactly?
Selenium. So right now, it's Selenium 3.0 really. So there were two before. And one was IDE, and another one was this recorder. And now it's like a library, but not just like a library, but it actually the whole infrastructure to manipulate with actual browsers, like Chrome browser. You can actually write a code, and it will do. It's basically just a library for Java or any other programming language.
Okay, so it's not Java dependent, like I can use any other.
Yeah, pretty much. Official list of the languages is pretty long. You can find pretty much any language over there. JavaScript.
mainly
Python.
meant for, I come from the embedded world, so hardware. So
Mhm.
this is mainly meant for the browser, not the web apps.
Yeah, so there is a language binding, which is the native, well, whatever programming language you use, like the library, and then there is a native driver, which is for Windows. It's just exe file that actually connects to the API of the browser itself. So every browser has its own driver, and you can control programmatically those drivers, and you can actually will see the browser popping up and clicking something, navigating, and all that stuff. So it's like real simulating the user really.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a middleware layer between your code and the browser
Mm-hmm.
that provides standardized APIs for calls.
Yep. So another one is Boilerplate, and for example, this is actually part of our very basic bootcamp program. So we actually show how junior QAs can actually use automation to automate some routines like smoke tests, for example. And this is a real example. Yeah, I actually pull it from our project.
That's quite cool.
This is yeah, it's Cucumber Boilerplate. So this one is WebDriver IO for JavaScript, basically. But since it's a boilerplate, it has like around 100 existing steps. So you really don't have to code anything. All of them are there. Open URL, click the element. The only thing that is needed here is to find out the locator. But rather than that, all the assertions, everything is there. Pretty easy to start, 5 minutes, and you're good to go. If you want to extend that, if you know JavaScript, you can create your own custom steps as well and do some stuff. For example, login, instead of doing it like this way, because it's boilerplate, you cannot really reuse it, right? You can actually wrap it up in your own step and just say like registered users, the user logs in. So locators now, something technical. In the previous example, it was all done by recorder. Here you have to at least know how to write locators. Of course, boilerplate, no code reuse. Browsers only, I mean, no mobile devices here. And well, it's relatively quick and easy. Even has some weights and assertions and different browsers, and you can read it. Not bad and easy to start. There is another one, Oxygen. I don't know if you guys had a chance to be in the previous meetup by kind of our friends. They actually introduced the Oxygen over there. It's a framework from Israel, and I kind of like it actually because as you can see here, it's a JavaScript now, so no like Gherkin syntax. So you can just use JavaScript, and again, it's basically boilerplate, but you have assertions, you have locators here. You can actually connect even to database. This is your query that you can run just from the test itself. Basically everything you need. So again, there is a whole bunch of predefined steps already, so you can just use them. But it's a boilerplate again, and it's a JavaScript. Well, it's JavaScript in cons and JavaScript in pros. I don't know if you guys like JavaScript or not. It's another topic for the whole entire meetup, I think. But yeah, easy, different browsers and even databases and APIs. So I think it's pretty cool. Again, it's free, open source. You can just pull it from the repository and start automating system-level tests.
They support mobile too, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I've never tried the mobile part, but I believe they have mobile. I think
User interface option backend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah. Who heard about Selenide? No, nobody.
Is this related to Selenium? Is this different?
It's open source library, but this is for Java really initially. Well, the Selenium itself originally was written in Java, and all this like server part is still written in Java. Selenide, again, it was the idea, the intention was to really make life easier and to be able to write concise tests in Java, because we all know Java is not the most concise language, right? Yeah. But here, again, it's boilerplate, but a lot of static methods. So you can just call them, and assertions are here, weights are there. So by default, it uses like this jQuery style. So it's like $sign instead of scriber find element. So it's kind of cool. And there is actually port for Python, and I use another port, mclean, for C#, because my language right now is C#. Not that powerful as original Java though, but still better than re-implementing the wheel. So again, boilerplate, no code reuse. Well, this is the whole another API to learn. But on the bright side, it's concise. All the browsers, you can do custom stuff, whatever, databases, NPIs. Well, it's Java now. So again, Java here, cons and pros. I don't know if you guys love Java or not. That's another whole meetup.
A question,
Yeah.
does the last few letters mean IDE? Does it have any kind of IDE, or is it all code?
What?
Is there an IDE included, or is it just code library?
Yeah, it's just a library. Yeah, you just pull it and that's it. Yeah, it uses a lot of static methods, as you can see here. But it's pretty cool actually. You can even download files, upload files, like a lot of things.
And we are IntelliJ apps, so.
Yeah. I haven't been using IntelliJ for like 2 years now, but I still like it. What else? Okay, 2 layers patterns. So now I'm really hungry. So we heard about page object model. Okay. Okay. So this is like classic page object model. I pulled it from seleniumhq.org, which is the official website for Selenium WebDriver. If you don't know, you can find documentation there. You can find all the language bindings. Pretty much, I would say it's a resource #1, just everything in one place. So what's page object really is, basically it's a representation of the pages, or if it's model, then basically your strings as a classes, and those are services, so you can ask them to do something for you. It's object-oriented programming already. So, but again, here you can see like a lot of kind of, usually in companies, I would say minority of companies uses it this way. I think these days it's mostly in a more like modern fashion. But what's important here now, you have 2 layers. So you have the actual test case level layer here. So there's a sign-in page, and you can go from sign-in page, from sign-in page to home page by providing like some username and password, and then validate something. And you have actual pages here. So these are the classes that you have, and now your test case is really manipulates 2 classes. And you, of course, you can get some other outcome like the title of the page, URL, and stuff like that. So now, as you can see, it's a little bit more code, right, to write a test. It's still login, but a little longer. Well, welcome to OOP. So yeah, setup time and effort. You need to learn what is that, how to use that. Selenium actually has all of those things built in, but it's still you need to go through documentation and read it. A lot of code, and well, now it's skilled labor, right? So you have to know the programming language, you have to understand the basic principles of OOP and all that. Yeah, OOP now, no joke. Well, again, it's OOP because of the tons of code here, but at the same time, it actually makes it's good code reuse, efficient and scalable, customizable. It's real development now. There is another permutation of similar, which is called WebDriver or Pages Inside. I personally never used this, but it's basically the same idea. Like you have some little bit different idea actually, not the pages, but like the methods. So without actually page, you can just call whatever you need to do within the method itself without having the page object page objects. Don't want to be a judge here again. So yeah, a lot of like stuff like driver, find element, by, next path, and all that stuff. All the methods are void. If you know about like method chaining or fluent interfaces, probably that's kind of not the best from that standpoint. So yeah, a couple of things, but still code reuse, customizable, uses encapsulation, so you don't expose, why you have these two layers, you don't expose the code, like the element, the details of the element, like headers, to the test logic. So you keep them separate, and that's how it's abstracted. So if you can now change like the implementation details without changing like, your test cases, right? So that's the whole idea, to abstract those layers away from each other. Selenide page object. So it's a mix of basically Selenide library and the page object. So again, you have actual test here. So this is one layer, and this is another layer. And in this layer, you have like some pages like Google page or search results page. It's basically the same idea. Your test case manipulates with these pages and gets some outcome. But now, instead of using like driver find element, you can actually use this jQuery-like syntax, which is, I like it actually. Well, even by name, but if you use it like this way, then this is just like jQuery with a $sign and then CSS like here by default, pretty much the same as a jQuery. For C#, for example, this is not a loud character. It's reserved for string interpolation, so it's capital S over there. So a little weird jQuery syntax, but I mean, I like it personally this way. However, it's actually a mix, not like real OP, but a lot of static methods, and it's like procedural kind of style. So again, jQuery, JavaScript, so different styles. And of course, Selenide itself is another dependency, another API that you have to learn now. And there is a pretty nice documentation, but still. On the right side, code reuse, it's pretty concise. I like that a lot. It's OOP, again, mixed, and it's jQuery-like. So if you show this to front-end developers, they will pretty much say like, oh, I know exactly what it is, because it's exact the same copy of what they do writing jQuery, right? So another one is Page Factory, or you can actually use Selenide with fields. So basically the same concept, two layers, test case layer, and then the pages. But then you can now, either if it's Selenide, like this example, you can declare private fields, so you don't expose the details of the elements, because it's your service. So we ask log me in, this is a password, this is username, and it does it somehow, right? It abstracts it away from you. Or classic Page Factory, it's pretty similar, but Selenium, the driver, has its own annotations or attributes for different languages, a different style, but basically those supposed to be private fields of the class, so you don't expose them. So yeah, I mean, code base is growing, domain specific. Again, another dependency. When it comes to page factories, there is a little bit more setup, like you need to initialize the elements, and then there is a few more attributes to know, like lazy load and all that stuff. On the bright side, you now even reuse the elements within the class, within the page, which is, I think, even better. This is OOP now, and jQuery again, or with Page Factory, just OOP. So 3-layer patterns now. Any questions, guys? Yeah. So, well, now who loves cucumbers? To eat or to write the code?
Yes.
So, yeah, this is a Cucumber, which is basically available again for pretty much any language. You can. So we started with the Cucumber in the beginning, but that was like a boilerplate. Here, it's just implementation of Gherkin language, where you're supposed to write your features and steps, basically test cases, and bind them with your code. So the idea here, now you have 3 layers. One first layer is the actual test case, which is called scenario. And as you can see, you can read it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so this is really just a text. It's not even like a code at this moment. You have to actually run it using test runners, which will convert them to actual code. And you have to now, so this is first layer. Now you have the second layer, which is the page layer. So this is actually page factory. You see at find, by, how, CSS, and all the stuff. Well, public, I never do public, but I don't know where to pull it from. And then the third one is steps. So basically, these steps mapped here, and they use the page. So 3 layers. Test logic is completely different, just a plain text. Well, it's not like that. It's still a pseudo language, so you have to follow the rules, but it's very easy to read. It doesn't even look like a code, and the whole idea here was to enable business analysts, QAs, like less technical people, to write the test scenarios. While you're like a more technical person, you can actually write these bindings and implement page object model underneath, so they don't even know. They don't have to know how it actually works under the hood. So, well, it's runtime, and this is one of the worst things for me. I'm working with like Java and C# and all those runtime errors. I hate that thing. And again, now it's pseudo language. If it fails because you put like a comma somewhere or forgot to close some, like after scenario you use like semicolon instead of colon, it will just crash and say like end of file exception. And you're like, okay, what does it mean? You go and figure this out. So this is, for me, it's like the worst thing here. But, well, and then, again, it's another dependency on top of, you can use with Selenide, with whatever. So it's one more dependency, even more configuration. But look at what's on the bright side. Dry concept, you all know what it is, right?
Don't repeat yourself.
Don't repeat yourself. OOP, of course. Well, under the hood, BDD. Have you guys heard about BDD? Behavior-driven development. So this is basically this piece, the cucumber part, right? The actual.
Express is given when then.
Yeah, so it's really a form given, which is precondition, when, which is action, and then, which is reaction or assertion. For Microsoft, I heard there is a AAA concept, which is, what was that? Arrange, act, and assert. by the end of the day, all of those are the same, just different names. In QA, we have like, for manual QAs, we teach to have like preconditions, steps, and expected result. I mean, it's exactly the same again, so no difference, really, just different fancy names, right? And yeah, the idea was to enable QA analysts, business people to contribute, which is cool, but not really, because if you ask to do them that, then how do they supposed to, so they supposed to install the IDE to get all the steps with IntelliSense to be repopulated. You have to explain them how to actually create branches and explain like the branching strategies, right? What if something missing? I mean, it's basically, again, your responsibility to re-implement that. So I don't know. It's not perfect, but
you know, in my experience, BGD is nice because it gives you a common language to use with the technical people, and the business people can kind of communicate on that level.
yeah, even just within the like QA team, let's say, or dev team, if you show this cucumber feature scenario to anyone, I mean, anyone can really understand right away like what it is about. You don't have to like really know that how your framework was built. It's really clear, and this is actually what we use in our company, even with a C#.
Spectral?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With
That's what
Spectral.
we used in my last job. I thought it was really helpful for the manual testers who had an interest and wanted to get involved in automation.
Yeah, it's definitely
it's a good way to get them in their foot in.
Yeah, exactly. So again, pros and cons. There is another one, you can say 4 layers, or I don't know. So when you actually, for example, like a Google page here, so you can actually compose the page using, usually it's called widgets, right? So for example, like a search bar with the search, you can see it on the homepage, you can see it on any results set pages. These blocks here, like Wikipedia or whatever blocks, like this one is Wikipedia, right? Or some other. You can see some questions, and actually different for different, because now it's like data driven. But you can reuse these blocks on different pages through. So now you compose your pages with these widgets, and then widgets is actually a set of some elements, right? So let's say like 3.5 layers or 4 layers or 3 layers, I don't know. Then you can actually think like, okay, this is actually my application, kind of. So it's, do you guys have jobs? Have you ever applied for a job? So they usually give you like a whole bunch of forms to fill out, right? And my project is nothing but a recruiting solution for companies, like all electronic. And for my project, we have around 33 pages to submit, really. And based on your input, you can get to different states. So you can be ineligible or whatever. We have like tons of the different states of the user based on input. So in this level, you kind of think like, okay, even pages is not enough for me now. So I need to have this workflows, which sometimes can be dynamic. So that will actually pull different pages and define the path, right? So it's like 4 layers now. And of course, it lives on top of the page object model now, but in between of the test logic and page object model. Data-driven workflows, again, that's how we roll. In order to submit the application, you have to actually build that profile for that user. And now we're really looking at, have you guys seen anything like this? Model, view, controller, right? So basically it's the same thing, but for testing purposes. Now we have model, which is in my case around 300 fields based on the user. So we pre-generate them in advance, and then we use that data to go through the workflow, and it's really data-driven. So whatever we pre-generate here, our workflow will use that path. But
are you doing that in memory, or are you?
We actually have like we have everything. we have APIs for that. We have database. We have actually entity framework as well.
In your tests?
We have JSON.
Do you have tests?
Oh,
for
yeah,
your
we have
tests?
PDF as well.
But do you have tests for your tests? I mean, it's getting to the point where it's becoming so complex. You're going to need tests for your tests. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And you start thinking like, it's actually the same application, but just built from the other side, right? Because we have like test cases to validate the assessment scores. How do we do that? Of course, we implement the whole algorithm to calculate that, right? I mean, how else? Is there any other way to do that? No. It's pretty complicated. So now, yeah, like, are you gonna write unit tests for your system level tests, right? So have you guys heard about test pyramid concept? Yeah, some of you. So this is basically what it is. This is, they call it ideal, which is the pattern, right? Well, there is actually some different permutations with I don't want to talk about that, but this is, let's say for ideal world, this would be like a pattern, and this is actually anti-pattern. And in a lot of companies, I'm seeing this actually, and I feel like once you grow these layers, like you move from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, that's actually what it is, because on top your automated GUI tests are huge, and it takes like hours, and it's basically just another application, which is like mirroring your application just for testing purposes. So that's why it's huge. And because of you so busy building this, you don't have time to work on the lower levels, right? But at the same time, this is more effort and it's slower. Here it's higher. So for if you want to reach that continuous delivery point, and probably you should write more unit tests. And for example, for our project, we have like 6,000 unit tests, I believe. So it used to be something like this, and now we're flipping. So we have like 6,000. We don't have much on integration side of things. And we actually have 700, I believe, test cases here, which is, to me, feels like this really. So probably it's,
how many workflow pages did you say you had? 30 something?
yeah, and like 70 different like workflows within those pages, and yeah.
It's actually not that much.
Well,
We have 3,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's roughly 3 test cases per pack per page.
well, one page, for example, like personal info page, includes like social security number, first, last name, 3 fonts, mailing address, residence address, and a few more things. So just that page, you can write like hundreds of test cases easily just for that, because some extensible, collapsible sections, again, based on the input, some other section can expand, you can enter over there something, and
So writing your, like when you, I understand the unit test, you're writing a test, you're writing code, on the GUI test, who's writing that?
Well, that's a good question. So, for example, that library that I presented briefly, Selenide, right? So what they say actually, they don't have any QAs at all. And in some companies, even like in Los Angeles, I know it's kind of the ongoing trend to maybe replace them or be less, kind of write less automated GUI level tests, because those are flaky and take longer. But if you do that, well, yeah, it's cool, but now you have to hire more developers, and
Right, throw more bodies.
and developers, again, if like manual exploratory testing, those are just manual QAs, relatively easy to get in, not for developers anymore. Even junior developer now knows a lot. So those are professionals, and you have to pay them accordingly. And it's actually, again, the market is basically on the workforce side. So there's huge demand, very low supply, and it's becoming worse actually. So, well, what the guys say, they only have like 30, 50 test cases for GUI, and the rest of the stuff is really here. And they say just for that, they actually use like one layer.
Longevity of what's behind your GUI is longer than what your GUI is, because your GUI should out more often when you should say.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, yeah, it's
So
a
you're
lot
throwing
of,
away those test cases more often.
Mhm.
Just doing the math on that, it just seems like there's a certain amount of waste that goes on in the land of front end.
and
Meaning, you know, based on user experience, whatever your exploratory testing,
Mhm.
your focus.
Well, it's still, here, it's still there, right? You
Right.
cannot really get rid of that.
You can't get rid of that.
But you can minimize or try to minimize, right?
Well,
That's
there's
the
new
whole
tools
idea.
that are using AI,
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
come back to.
the gate plan.
Oh, you're wanting, I believe you want to present that next time,
What
right?
is that
Well,
project?
No?
No, the other club is gonna have, well, for the QA LA is going to be, for QA engineers, the biggest threat is going to be, AI machines that become self-aware and, well, you all know what Skynet is, right?
Yeah.
So we need to have QA principles to make sure that doesn't happen. So it's gonna be, that's all.
Yeah, it's like Skynet, Terminator, all that stuff, right?
Well, but that's the thing is you're going to have, they're already having a big thing about bias in AI. And that's a huge thing, so.
Well, whatever you throw that initial setup for your learning set is, whether you're, again, there's a certain aspect of, especially in that front side of things, it's tough to, I mean, you have mimic patterns for human behavior, so you could feed that into a learning pattern, throw that at that learning pattern, and figure out, based on that, that would be the AI threat to.
Well, it's not just the unsupervised learning, that's the problem. As I started looking, they were doing one where they were taking medical diagnosis. And you found out that the machine learning was determining if you went to a hospital, it was cheating. It was saying, well, if you went to a hospital, it's got to be more severe. So it wasn't looking at the actual test data from the subjects. It was looking, was reported.
So it got outside the parameters of the learning, what.
I know the computer decided that was more relevant. So it was only supposed to use certain things, but.
So it was written by the insurance agencies.
Good one. So, yeah, something like this. Right? And thanks for having me and to letting me troll you a little bit.